Well, hey everybody. I thought I would kill two birds with one stone. I'm currently driving from Sugar Grove back to Pittsburgh area to be back with my family and Natalie for a bit. We're still social distancing, but figured I'd be able to make the most of this opportunity. But while I'm driving down, I figured I would make this video for you guys. I have my phone set up in my car, so I'm hands-free, so don't worry about that. If you see it moving, it's because I have it set on the steering wheel. But I just wanted to just talk with you guys a little bit. Make this video a little bit ahead of time. And just kind of give you an insight on how I'm doing, what I'm thinking, how I'm kind of processing everything that's been going on. And maybe we can talk about this continuing moving forward. But for right now, I just wanted to share with you, I like to have talks like this by myself in my car when I have this 3-hour car drive. I'm weird. But you probably already knew that. Nothing special. But so this one's probably going to be a bit longer of a video. I'm not going to cut it up or anything. Just wanted to talk directly to you guys. There's a lot of mixed emotions about what's going on right now. I haven't looked up the latest information, but as of me recording this, I know there are a few cases in Warren County. I know Chautauqua has a few. But I don't think, and for the most part, I don't think it's hit here as much as it's hit, this coronavirus is hit as much as in different areas, like the Pittsburgh area. Not the county that I'll be traveling to specifically, but the surrounding area, and especially like New York City, big cities like New York City, and different places like that in the United States, and then across the world, in China, in Italy. And I think because it hasn't hit here, we don't really feel it as much. I mean, we feel to the extent of life has kind of been put on pause. School has shifted to online, if it hasn't been for you that way already. And we're getting adjusted to not being able to go out and do the things that we like to as much or even at all. And we're stuck behind screens and different ways to communicate, and all that has changed. But I want to encourage you through this. First off, in this aspect, and this is just my personal opinion, and then what I want to get into with the overall idea of this message is, first off, to listen to what the media is saying to an extent of listen to enough where you're hearing the overall message of staying inside, flattening the curve, because those things are important, but not getting so bogged down where you're focusing in on every single detail or every single update that it's given, because we're not called to be anxious and worry and be afraid, but we're also called to be respectful of other people and leaders and people in authority, and who God has placed there for His specific reason and purposes. So when people do say that social distancing is important and not going outside and going into public places and washing your hands, you should be following those rules. I just heard a good explanation, a good reasoning behind, a good scenario behind that of, if you had a bowl of M&Ms Just go with this with me for a minute. If you had a bowl of M&Ms and a bowl of 100 M&Ms, and out of those 100, 80 of them were perfectly fine, really good tasting M&Ms, your favorite kind of M&Ms. But also in that bowl, of that 80, 10 had the potential to get you very sick. And then the other 10, if you ate those, would kill you. How many times do you think you would go and take your risk and take a chance and eat those M&Ms? Probably not often. Hopefully not. Just kind of that idea of maybe like you're not at risk, and maybe you think the world around you is like is not going to cave in, and that you're Superman. You're not going to get this. That's okay. You may not. At this point, you may not. But it is in our area, and there are people in your life who are more susceptible to that getting that virus and it being very harmful and life-threatening for them. So my encouragement through that all is take the necessary precautions to do these things, but don't let it bog you down. And that's kind of what I want to go into. That's just my advice, kind of just with the whole situation. But looking at it from a spiritual perspective, I just wanted to give this encouragement that we are called many times in Scripture to not worry, to not be anxious, to not be afraid, but to lean in on God and what He has for us and know that He is in control. And I think this is evident through the Psalms. I love the Psalms. King David wrote a good majority of them. And he was in very many different situations when he was writing them. He was working through the problems of his affair and the loss of life due to his infidelity and his cheating and all of those different stories with Bathsheba. And there's different situations where he's on the run, where he is hiding from people who want to kill him, even his own son at one point. There's so many circumstances you can see the ups and downs, the hills, the valleys in David's life as he's writing these Psalms, as he's crying out to God of saying, where are you? There's multiple times where he says, I have no idea, God, where you are. I feel like you're not around. And then there's other times where he says, God, you are so good, and he feels that great connection with him. But through it all, God is still there. God is still faithful, even when David doesn't feel that he's there. And one of the most familiar passages in all of Scripture is Psalm 23. And you may have it memorized. You may know it from your time at church, or it's shared a lot in movies and TV shows and different things like that. But God uses the illustration of a shepherd in this passage and many other passages in Scripture. And he does that for a very specific reason. To show us the relationship that he has with us. And Jesus even calls himself the Good Shepherd. and uses that same analogy, that we are cared for from God, like sheep are cared for by their shepherd. Shepherd's role was to care for, to transport sheep, to tend to them, to care for them, to feed them, to lead them. Because if you don't know, sheep are very, very stupid animals and very stubborn animals at times, and need someone to guide them and need help with a lot of things to keep them from falling off cliffs, to all different aspects. But God uses this to show us that we need Him and the big scheme of everything going on, to care for us, to be there to supply our needs, to calm our fears, and to lead us in a life that gives us the opportunity to give back and to care for others and live a life that is honoring and glorifying to Him, and not lead us down a path of death and destruction. So through this all, I just want to encourage you, take some time this week, read through Psalm 23, see the different aspects of how God uses that passage to help us understand how He cares for us, how he calms our fears, calms our anxieties, places us in safe times and safe places for us to feel comfortable, to feel safe and secure in Him. Even though the world is confusing right now and looks a lot different, we can find spiritual rest in Him. And we can cast our worries and fears and anxieties and all those feelings onto Him. And He's there, right there with us. God gave us emotions. He gave us feelings and expressions and ways to express those to help us cope with things that happen in our lives. And the greatest thing about that is that we don't have to bottle those up. We don't have to be afraid to share those. And then He gives us the opportunity to share those. That's through prayer and seeking Him. And I think just having the Psalms there as that example of seeing David just completely saying, you know what, God, I don't feel you here at all right now. Like, life sucks and the situation I'm in is terrible. I'm hiding out in a cave. People want to kill me. And even in some of those times, he still says, you know what, God, you're good. You know, my situation isn't great. My life's not super great. Life's not where I want it to be. Situations are out of my control. But God, you're still good. And having you in my corner is all that matters. So through this time, whatever you're feeling, whether you're on the side of you have no idea what tomorrow's going to look like, or you're just brushing this off and just saying, you know what, who cares? My encouragement to you is to lean into God during this time, to let Him know how you're feeling, to be vulnerable with Him, be real, like David was throughout the entire Psalms. And not bottle those up. Don't let your fears and worries and anxieties just pile up on you. But give them over to God, because He cares for you. He wants to be there for you. He desires to care for you, to tend to you, to love you. And He wants the best for you, even in these unknown, unanswerable situations on our end and our perspective. So that's my encouragement for you guys today. If you have any questions, you want to talk about this a little bit more, you want some different passages to read through, hit me up. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Hope everybody's doing well. See ya.